Hey, this is Nica Montford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
Yo, this is Terrance Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And welcome to the Snob OS Show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. Welcome back to the show this week, everybody. Go ahead and kick it off by saying this will be the last show for 2024, and we will see you guys back in the new year. But before we wrap it up, we're going to get into our regular show. But before we do that, we definitely want to do a quick shout out for all of you for this whole year and for the time that we've been doing the show. We definitely want to thank you and shout you out for your continued support, listening, watching, downloading, talking about it on social media, joining our Discord. Definitely a huge thanks. And for those of you who want a little bit of extra content, you can become one of our Patreon supporters. And with that, you get to watch the show live and you get some additional exclusive content. And how do you sign up for that? By going over to patreon.com/snobawestcast. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into this week's show. So kicking it off, we are in the holiday season, and with the latest iOS 18.2 update, we mentioned it when we kind of ran through all the features. There was a new upgrade for Find My that allows you to share your lost items locations with other. Well, what this has now become, which I'm sure many of us have used before, but in a non-official capacity, but now it has become official. 3 major airlines, including Delta, United, and Air Canada, have decided to support this feature of sharing your location. So say, your bag is lost, can't find it. Before you just kind of say, I see it back there. Just show me. I can show you where it is. Like, nah, we have to do it ourselves. We don't see it. We don't have it. It's coming. But now these 3 airlines have decided to say, let's work with Apple and our customers and use this new feature to help us out and make finding your baggage a little bit easier. So I think, especially, like I said, holiday season, this is the perfect time for this to come out, and it's a perfect time for people to be able to use it because holiday time, the level of travel is significantly increased. We live here in Atlanta, and Hartsville is the busiest airport in the world. So this is probably pretty much the way we fly out. And so I think it's really helpful that people are going to be able to go up to any of these 3 airlines and say, hey, my bag is lost. Let me create you a link and share it with you, because what it does is basically it creates a web page. And you basically take that link and you give it now to the airlines, and then they'll be able to say, hey, this is yours because we are getting this link from your phone. Let us go and find your package. So each airline will have basically their own method of using this link. So you'll have to check with the airline directly to say, how do I get you this link? But either way, you will be able to give them the link directly, and they'll be able to go and, within feet, find your bag.
Even more than that, it puts the airlines on notice, and it gives them some extra help because they are relying on their technology or however they use to locate items. Because, they put tags on your bag, and at every step they scan the bag, and that kind of gives them a ping or a location, them being the airlines. Well, this way, in addition to that, they also got Apple's ping that is live, meaning that this web page, if your baggage moves, the web page will update the location. That may or may not be the case for the airline's way of tracking stuff, because since they don't put a physical thing on a physical trackable thing on your luggage, again, how they track your location is based on when somebody scans it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they can't find your luggage, ain't no guarantee that they can scan it.
They can't scan it, yeah.
You have this extra thing via AirTag. If you put it in there, you can now share this with the airline and be like, all right, in addition to whatever y'all doing, this is how y'all also help me find my bag, because I've shared the location updates with you all. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully that helps Delta, any airline that uses it, to give them that extra ability to find your baggage versus just saying, well, in our system, it says, I don't know what to do with you. Now they can have these two kind of almost like a backup and a fail
Mm-hmm.
safe, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I'm not sure what took them so long to get to this point of being willing to be open to this, but it helps everybody. It
I'm
helps the
thinking maybe the
airline.
government,
You
like Pete
think so?
Buttigieg, he was like heavy on trying to get customers their money back. I
Mm-hmm.
think there was a big outage or something that happened earlier this year,
Mm-hmm.
and people have been complaining. And the government stepped in and was like, yo, y'all need to give these people their money back if you didn't provide the service. So my guess
Mm.
is this comes out of that whole, all right, let's do better by these passengers. And this is just one of the things that has made it easier for outside third party companies like Apple to be like, all right, we got some stuff. Let's share.
Yeah. Let's be friends. But yeah, um, we've been a huge proponent of air tags. And this is just another way that this is definitely helping the people. And for you can get an air tag for $25. So that's even better. All right. Next up, I titled this Apple Maps gets boomer update because I think we talked about before. There was an article that that said most of the time the younger generations, Z, Alpha, whatever, they pretty much do all of their stuff on their phone. But when you
Mm-hmm.
have your elder millennials, your Gen Z, your boomers, whenever they need to do like a big purchase or do something big, they go over to their computer to do it rather than doing on their phone. Well, Apple Maps has gotten basically what I'm calling a boomer update. So basically, there is a newly enhanced web version of Apple Maps that introduces this new feature called Look Around, which is basically just a street level view
Mm-hmm.
of where you are. Think of, I think it's called Street View in Google Maps.
Mm-hmm.
They are now bringing this to the web. Now, granted, this feature is already included in the app for Apple Maps, and it has
Mm-hmm.
been since iOS 13, but now you can do this via the web.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you activate this look around feature by clicking the binoculars icon that's at the bottom left corner of the map. And it allows you to kind of drag around and move around and kind of see what's all around a specific intersection or street. Again, basically, it's a street view. And again, this is a beta version of this that's currently out there. It's got a bunch of different cities that it's compatible with, that are using it. It's compatible with all the major browsers: Safari, Chrome, Edge, and Firefox. And one of the other things is it works on both Mac and PCs. So this kind of is taking the Apple Maps out of the range of having to have an Apple device to be able to use Apple Maps. Again, this is a beta that's currently out there, and you can find it at beta.maps.apple.com. Again, there are some features that you have on the app that aren't on the web version, and I'm thinking likely just because of the way that you use the app. It's a little bit different than using it on the web. But if you want to go and print some stuff out on a map or look at a map,
Well,
Apple Maps lets you do it.
it's to compete with Google Maps because Google Maps is in the web.
Yeah.
Every time you click on an address, every time you click on a location on any website, is going to default to Google Maps on the web. Therefore, Google Maps is getting all that traffic. They're getting all that data because when anybody clicks on an address in a web page, it goes to Google Maps because there
Mm-hmm.
is no other option.
Alternative.
Well,
Yeah.
well, now, quite possibly, again, this is a beta. Again, it's very rudimentary as far as the features as it relates to the Maps app on a Apple device, but it gets the job done. If I, as a business, wanted to opt or give my customers the option of using Apple Maps or Google Maps when they click on my address and my website, this could be that thing that gets them there. And therefore, Apple keeps some of that data, they keep some of that traffic, and to compete with Google Maps because Google Maps has always been on the web for the longest. I don't even think they have a Google Maps app. Maybe
Yeah,
they
it
do.
is. There's a Google
Android
Maps app.
devices. Like for the web though. I mean, not for a web, for Macs and PCs. Is there like a separate Google Maps app? I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I know, of course, one in the App Store, but I don't know for using on your laptop if they
Right,
have that. I
right.
don't.
Maybe a
I think you're
Chromebook
correct.
has the map app, but
Probably.
they don't. All that to say, let's just say I'm right, which I don't know, but let's just say I am. Google has always been that way. They've always had a web version of their Maps app, and the internet, as far as online, has defaulted to that. Apple's to me, I
Hmm.
could be wrong, but to me, it seems like Apple wants a piece of that.
Yeah, makes sense. It's all about market share in all of these things. How many eyes can we get on our site, our advertisers? How can we get those KPIs and those metrics? So yeah, so it's out there. Again, you can go to beta.maps.apple.com and try it out, test it out, see how you like it. Next up, I saw this article and popped up, and I was like, you know what? One, the headline is a little misleading, and two, I kind of agree with it. So, according to this survey conducted by Cell, it's basically saying that people aren't to see little to no value in Apple Intelligence. So the survey that they did, it was with 2,000 smartphone users. Now this is definitely a smaller pool, but it's still, a sample size. With over half of these 2,000 smartphone users owning an iPhone with AI supported model with Apple Intelligence, which is basically your iPhone 15 Pro line and your iPhone 16 line. So I guess the good news is of Apple Intelligence features, generative writing tools, notification summaries, and prioritized messages are among the most used. But iPhone users showed compared to Samsung, who has their own version of their intelligence features. When you look at Samsung's, I guess, users saying, how they feel about AI in their devices compared to iPhone users have showed a slightly, no, I would say a relatively higher interest in the mobile AI Apple Intelligence as compared to Samsung. So iPhone users from this survey, about just under 50%, 47.6% of the iPhone users say that the new Apple Intelligence features are very or somewhat important when they were trying to decide whether they were going to buy a new phone or not, versus 23.7% of Samsung users saying the same thing. The other thing is smartphone users just in general are not satisfied with AI features on their smartphones. And this is both between iPhone, which is the Apple Intelligence, and Galaxy AI, which is on the Samsung side. So 73% of iPhone users are unsatisfied with the AI features as compared to 87% of Galaxy AI users saying that, the new features are either quote not very valuable or they quote add little to no value. So I say that the headline is a little misleading because it makes it seem as if only Apple Intelligence users aren't happy with the AI features on smartphones when it's relatively comparable to Samsung users. But I say all this to say we both have iPhone 16 Pro line. I have the Pro. Terrance has the Pro Max. For you, how often do you use Apple Intelligence in your day-to-day usage of your phone?
All the time. I use it multiple times a day, primarily just for surfacing things on the web that I don't want to have to search for.
Mm-hmm.
If I could easily open up Safari, the default search engine for Safari is Google. I open up Safari, type in, most inexpensive stadiums for food, right?
Mm-hmm.
Safari will surface some results and I can kind of thumb through and see which one I like or which one supports my theory or whatever the case may be. Or I could use Chat GPT and say, hey, what stadium is the least expensive as far as food? And she'll think about it. And then they'll say, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, blah, 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 blah. So, all right, that's exactly what I was looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I find myself doing a lot of that, searching not natively, searching via my voice using ChatGPT versus opening up Safari, right? I can just ask it a question. You could do that with Safari prior to this whole ChatGPT integration, but it was a crapshoot whether or not it was going to spit out an answer or just going to say, here's what I found on the web. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I want you to tell me. I don't want you to show me what you found on the web, right?
Right.
So personally, I use it all the time. My gripe with this particular story is, when did Apple Intelligence officially roll out? Like
It
officially like
technically,
landed on the devices?
it wasn't until 18.1. So that
No, I'm
was,
talking about the Apple Intelligence that they're talking about.
no, it came out with 18.1. So it wasn't 18. It wasn't in 18, but when 18.1 came out, you could turn it on. And that was maybe late fall. Maybe was that October?
I'm talking about like the 18.2 that just came out
The
that
18.2,
combined
that,
all
yeah,
last week.
that's only been like a week or so.
So again, my issue with this, you could be very right. You could be, the website could be right, but I would have liked this story to be reported 2 years after using Apple Intelligence, because the Galaxy folks with their Galaxy AI, they've been using it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how long, but I know it's been longer than a week, or this fall when iOS 18.1 came out and had limited Apple Intelligence. I know they've been using it longer than that. So I think it's kind of not unfair jumping the gun to report this story that says, hey, most iPhone owners see little to no value in Apple Intelligence. Well, one, we've only had it for a week, if not a month or two at the longest. And two, we still ain't figured out AI as a whole yet. So there are a lot of people. We are technologically advanced and know all the tech. And anytime the new update comes out, we quick to update and try to fiddle through that and find out what's the new stuff, what's the interest. Most people don't do that. Most people will not see the use of Apple Intelligence until they don't have to think about it and they're just automatically using it. We ain't there with Apple yet. So, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Now, once Apple gets going and it's become second nature and everything we do has some sort of Apple Intelligence spin on it, whether it be search, whether it be, writing tools, everything, when Siri completely converts to this Apple Intelligence, whether ChatGPT or not, then you say, all right, it's been 2 years. Apple Intelligence is on every device now. It don't matter what, if you've got a 16 or 17 or 14 or whatever the case may be, what do y'all think?
Mm-hmm.
Then let people say, I really don't use this. I'm fine, whatever the case may be. I just think it's a little too early, too soon to give out the, is Apple Intelligence useful or not? Even though some of the earlier features and earlier software is kind of like, I mean, I guess, but we haven't used it and we haven't integrated it enough to be like, yeah, I thought this was going to be dope, but it turns out I use it maybe once a week versus, oh man, I can't live without this. You'll never know until you like integrate it fully.
Yeah. So Galaxy AI was launched July 10th of 2024. So they've had it roughly 6 months
A little bit
or
longer.
so, a little bit longer. I have to say, the reason I did buy the iPhone 16 Pro was twofold. One, it was my time to do my, my every other year upgrade, but I knew that the iPhone 16 would have Apple Intelligence. I remember them launching it at WWDC. And one of the key reasons why I bought it was to see how was Apple Intelligence going to work in the Apple ecosystem. So regarding that, because I think one of the questions was surrounding, did the AI features, whether it be Galaxy AI or Apple Intelligence, factor into your purchase of a phone? And I don't think that was very high from the survey, but for me, it was very high. And I have to say, I don't really use a lot of the Apple Intelligence features. I thought I would use it a lot more, but I don't. I see when I'm in text messages and it'll give me the Apple Intelligence response. Sometimes I use it, most times I don't. I've in mail, it'll ask, do you want
Summarize.
summarize, or I use a summary, but it was like, do you want us to, you can get Apple Intelligence to basically write a response for you. So I don't use it that much. I never really used Siri a whole lot. Of course I used it, but it wasn't an everyday experience. So for me, it's almost like par for the course, because I really didn't use some of this stuff, mainly meaning Siri. Oh, all of my stuff just lit up. I'm not looking for you, girl. Good night. So it's one of those things where I could see, I see where the article is going. I see why it, because I saw it on a bunch of different sites, because it does kind of feed into that notion of, this isn't that great, people aren't really using it. And I'm like, you have the early adopters who are usually Apple snobs. And then you have people who are like, whatever, until it becomes a part of your everyday life. And I agree with you.
It becomes ubiquitous.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, how could I have lived without Apple Intelligence? Like, see, that's what happens when you wait for a while and let it cook.
Yeah, it has to cook some. So I think this was a bit premature, but I do think that this will be a good survey to come back to in a year, to see how sentiments have changed from the initial implementation to, after having it for maybe a year or so, to see how attitudes and thoughts have changed for Apple Intelligence. And I didn't put it in the show this week, but the beta for 18.3 is already out. So, folks are saying that 18.3, will likely come out, at the top of the year. So it's one of those things where we don't have the full power of Apple Intelligence yet. They're rolling it out in stages, which is smart, because, just kind of throwing up all this stuff, it'll be a bit of overload. And I think I said before, I was one of the ones like, you give me this new feature, I kind of want it now. But just this is a complete, shift in the way that Apple software and hardware works, and doing just basically flipping a switch on something this foundational to what I think Apple is saying this is our future, just dropping it all at one time. It wouldn't make sense to just do it all at one time. So we'll get the incremental changes. I think 18.2 had quite a bit of changes. We'll see what 18.3 has. And I suspect I've seen some things say that it may go up to 18.4 before we get iOS 19 next fall. So we'll see. We will see. That's going to wrap it up for the lowdown. Let's head on over to Second String, where we talk all other tech. I did want to bring this back. We did talk about this thing also before. TikTok. There was a law that was passed by the U.S. government that basically said TikTok would either have to be banned from the U.S. or it would have to be sold to a U.S. entity. And that, just brought up so many things, because I think they had the CEO of ByteDance come in, and they were really, you could see the shift or the focus to try and make it seem like, China is, taking over, they have all these things, and, what is it, if this government doesn't throw in some racism? They kept trying to make the ByteDance CEO say he was Chinese, and he's like, no, I'm from Singapore, Singaporean. So it's one of those things where it's been back and forth, and it was one of those things where it has to happen, or else it's no other or else. It either, ByteDance will either have to sell TikTok to a U.S. company, which I don't even know how that would work, or it would have to be banned. Well, today, Wednesday, December 18th, the Supreme Court confirmed that it would review whether or not if the ban or the forced sale of TikTok is unconstitutional. So the announcement came just one day after TikTok and the owner of ByteDance basically made a petition to the Supreme Court for a temporary injunction to halt the ban until the court could consider, whether this is a breach of the First Amendment, free speech or not. Ahead, and I think they're really trying to get this in before the new administration comes in, because like many people around the world, when this new administration comes in, it's probably just going to be a crapshoot of what happens. So this enforcement of sale or ban kicks in January 19th, the day before the new administration is inaugurated. And so the hearing scheduled by the Supreme Court is on January 10th. So whatever the outcome of this hearing is, they'll have basically less than a week to either sell it or ban it or keep it the way it is. So it's one of those things where I don't know if people really thought that this would actually happen, but it looks like it really is happening. And we know, for the incoming government leadership that's coming in, it really is one of those things where it really, I think, is going to determine this guy's mood, because he basically controls the Supreme Court. I think it's a 6-3 majority for the Republican side of what's going to happen, and they're going to do what he wants to do. So who knows?
I don't know. I don't know if the Supreme Court on something like this will automatically side with what Trump wants, because Trump don't even know, because he's the one who kind of initiated this ban because he had a bone to pick with China. Now he's kind of flipped and like, I can handle China and they'll listen to me, that sort of thing. So it sounds like he's starting to, even with the tariffs, he was like this and that and the third. And now he's kind of, the wind is blowing and he's kind of stuck his finger in the air to see which way the wind is blowing. I think he's doing the same thing with the tariffs, and he's doing it with this TikTok ban. Whatever the American sentiment is, not typically, there's a good case to say he may blow that way. Now, the question is, in my opinion, whether or not a TikTok ban is a violation of First Amendment rights. Because TikTok is not the only social media platform. Now, if TikTok was the only social media platform, and that's the only way we could get our voices out via, the internet, then, and by taking that away, you do violate my rights because I don't have any other way to do that. Well, that ain't the case. I got Instagram, Threads, Twitter, X, Facebook, Blue Sky, Mastodon, Spill, Fanbase, all these other things to where it's like, all right, well, one is down. Well, you just pick up, I'm oversimplifying it.
Right.
But, TikTok is down. All right, go on over to Instagram or go on over to whatever the case may be, that sort of thing. So I'm not sure if banning TikTok is a violation of the First Amendment. So I'm not sure if ByteDance wants to die on that hill. Right. But what TikTok could rest on is the American sentiment. And if the American people say TikTok is fine, leave it alone, even though there are some security threats or there's been some, whatever the case may be with China and them, whatever they claim that they're doing, right? If the American people say it's fine, this is our country. We elect the electors. And if we say, it's fine, leave it alone. Again, keeping in mind, Donald Trump does like to, on some things that he's kind of don't really have a strong stance on, he'll tend to blow whichever way the people blow. And if the people say we like TikTok, he'll do his Trump thing and be like, I am the reason why TikTok wasn't banned. I'm like,
I saved it.
But you're also the reason why it was going to get banned in the first place.
Why we even here?
Right. So I would advise, if I was an advisor, I would advise TikTok to ByteDance rather, to really lean on the meaningfulness that TikTok has brought to people and the social media as a whole. You know, TikTok, the app itself has kind of changed the game on how we use social media, you know, and all these other social media platforms have been following them for the past couple years versus TikTok, you know, which is fairly new.
Right.
As compared to Twitter and Facebook, they've been out since 2007, 2008. TikTok didn't really come on the scene till what, 2016, 17,
Yeah,
somewhere
it's a
like that.
newbie. It's the new kid on the block.
And the fact that all the other platforms are following in their footsteps now, they tend to be the trendsetters. That's a tough argument to say, nah, we don't care. You know what I'm saying? Because that is a whole, almost a cultural shift.
Yeah.
If you shut down TikTok. And I don't know if the government, I don't know if Donald Trump, I don't know if the feds want to mess with that, especially if we as American people say this is where we want to be.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, spot on what you said. Nobody knows what this guy's going to do because he doesn't know what he's going to do. And it could really go either way. So there are, I think, a couple things that TikTok could do. Like you said, you know, kind of lean on the public sentiment or do what, you know, we've seen recently Tim Cook do, what we've seen Jeff Bezos do, go down to Mar-a-Lago and kiss the ring because it was recently announced that I think some of the issues that that Tim Cook would have with supplies, he went down or he's, you know, spoken to Trump already. I think he's going down to Mar-a-Lago and Trump is basically saying, you know, we don't want Samsung to win. So I think I'm going to, you know, take some of the constraints off so you could, you know, be okay and not quote unquote lose to Samsung. We've seen what happened with Bezos when, you know, he owns Washington Post. So they may have to, you know, suck it up if, you know, Ed kiss the ring.
And I wouldn't consider it sucking up. I would consider it, you are an American company. You're doing business with American consumers. So you're going to have to grin and bear it and make a effort to be the bigger man and, you know, present the willingness to work with the incoming administration because it's just common sense. You know, you can hate, you know, the administration, you can hate the policies, but dude is president. So it's just like, you can't be like, all right, Apple, we're moving to, you know, Panama City. You still have to do business in America. And he has, you know, the influence as it relates to tariffs, as it relates to federal regulations that they have to adhere to. So it's almost like you grin and bear it. You go, you know, shake hands, kiss babies. You know, you not necessarily pledge allegiance, but you, like most of them say, you know, we are willing to work with the incoming administration, period, point blank. You know, I don't, now Trump may see that as kissing the ring.
Yeah.
The right may see it as, you know, they've conceded power or whatever the case may be. No, it's just business. It's business as usual. These Republican or these red leaning companies did it with Biden. They did it with Obama. So now it's, unfortunately, you know, for Democratic leaning companies or whatever the case may be, now they got to do the same thing for a Republican led administration. I mean, it's the cost of doing business.
Yeah. And, you know, in the whole sense of kissing the ring, it's just, you're going to have to kiss the ring of someone that you may not necessarily like. And you can tell, you know, by, you know, some of these companies, they're doing basically what they have to do to stay competitive and to stay in business and all that stuff.
And some companies are doing extra, and you can tell which ones those are versus the ones that are like, all right, you know, this is America. We got to do business.
Right. Exactly. So I guess this is going to probably come down to the very wire. Again, the new administration takes office on the 20th. And this, if the ban holds up, it happens on the 19th. And they get their hearing on the 10th. So again, it's a very quick turnaround. It's one of those things where it's gonna come down to the wire. It's gonna come down to the very end, and we'll honestly just have to see like everything else, really how this plays out at the end of this. So, you know, it's gonna be very interesting if this ban goes through, because I don't think they'll sell. So I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting. Billions of people use TikTok, so I don't know. And a lot of people's businesses is on this, so it's gonna be one of those things where I don't know how that's gonna work out. But again, as with everything else, we kind of just have to wait and see. All right, that's got to wrap it up for Second String. Let's head on over into For the Culture, where we talk about socially relevant or interesting or entertaining things. So again, this is our last show for the year, and there are a lot of end of the year lists and all those things of, you know, hyping up or big upping, you know, the top 10 this or the top 10 that. I saw this article on PC Mag and I was like, this is definitely something to think about. And this article is called Logging Off: The Tech That Died in 2024. So essentially, this article, what's the word I'm looking for? Compiles all of the tech that died every month of this year. And some of this is very interesting. I don't know if you had a chance to kind of scroll through the list. Are any of these that kind of pop out to you? I know for me, one that pops out is Drizzly. I used it. That's basically the alcohol delivery service that kind of got the boot from the original company that owned it.
I never figured out why they separated. Well, because Drizzly was an app, and then Uber bought it. Is that what happened?
Right.
So
It was a
had to have been
standalone thing. Yeah.
It had to have been an acqui-hire because Uber was running a competing service called Uber Eats, where you can order food and alcohol. So I think this is almost like they bought Drizzly for the talent and made them make Uber Eats better, because you can order alcohol and all the other spirits or whatever that you could order on Drizzly on Uber Eats. So I don't necessarily consider that a fail, almost like we're spinning off and doing something else. Outside of that, nothing really. I didn't even know there was such thing as a Ring car cam, but it was outside the car. So why wouldn't people steal that? And why wouldn't that?
It was outside the car?
I'm looking at this picture on PC Mag, and it looks like a camera that's sitting on the outside of. No, I'm looking at it wrong. I'm looking at it backwards.
Oh, the dash. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the dash on the inside. I'm looking at the picture wrong. But the benefit of it was dual camera, so it could do front and rear.
Back.
Most dash cams do just the front windshield, but
or you have to buy a separate one to go in the back.
Nope, it had cameras on both sides.
No, I'm saying, and normally you have to buy one to go in the front and one to go in the back.
Yeah, you do. Camera was pricey, a little bit hard to install, so I'm not surprised by any of these outside of I'm not surprised about any of these. Not really. They mentioned Apple Car. Oh, Apple Car. Yeah, I guess. But I ain't even surprised about that. Making a car from scratch is a big deal. Apple tried it. Did they try it, or did they start?
I think it was still in the proof of concept stage. I don't think it ever got outside of that. And we've seen other companies that try to do semi-autonomous or autonomous vehicles that folded as well. So yeah, that's not surprising. I did see this one that I didn't know about either. Fossil, they had a smartwatch.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. And of course that tanked. And I get it, because Apple has a smartwatch that's uber popular. Samsung also has their version. And doesn't Pixel have one as well? Well, Google, don't they have a smartwatch that goes with Pixel? Or am I making that up? I don't know.
I'll say it one more time.
For the Google Pixel phones, don't they have a watch? Doesn't Google have a watch?
Yes, Google does
Okay.
have a watch.
Okay. I thought they did.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it was already it's already an oversaturated model with a lot better um devices. So I'm not too surprised that Fossil smartwatches crumbled because again, I didn't even know Fossil had a smartwatch. Um the Twitch watch party. That's kind of like, doesn't Netflix also have like something like that where you could like watch shows with other people
At the
together?
same time, yeah,
Yeah.
Netflix does. Or they had it. I've never used it, so
Yeah, I don't know. I remember it was really popular during the pandemic. So I don't know if they still support that or not. But Twitch's
yeah.
version of that, out of here. Shut it
Yep.
down.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that just, I mean, all of the Amazon stuff, they are horrible at creating a hardware product with the exception of the Kindles, which I think, with the exception of the Kindles and a couple of those Echo things, they tried to capitalize off of the, smart home assistant speaker combination thing and made all these other offshoots, and none of them typically worked. They had a Echo Show Photos edition. They had an Echo Dot with the clock. They had that robot that they announced at was it CES? I think it was that robot, Amazon Astro
Oh,
robot.
Astro. Yep. Yeah, I think it was at
Yeah,
CES.
it was at in November 2023.
It
Um,
wasn't this past year? I thought we
no,
talked
but
about it this past year. But
it was
again,
for
yours.
business. Yeah, yeah. So maybe
Okay.
this is different than the regular Astro thing that they announced. But yeah, I'm not surprised by any of this. Maybe the only one that I'm probably surprised at is Apple Pay Later, to where
Mm-hmm.
they were kind of competing with Affirm and Klarna as far
Mm-hmm.
as that buy it now, pay for installments, or
Installments.
yeah, and then you can get it after the 4.
Basically, layaway. A digital
Yeah.
layaway.
Well, it's layaway in the sense that um you get the product first.
Yeah.
Layaway,
You
traditional
get a
layaway,
second.
you got to
You
put
got to
something
pay
on
it
it
all. Yeah.
and then pay it off, and then
Yeah.
you get it.
Yeah.
Right. But I guess Affirm and Klarna had already gobbled up all the
Had that
market.
market.
So
Yeah.
so Apple was like, don't worry about it.
Did you see that the Google Pay app, that one folded as well? So basically kind of following, Apple Pay, Apple Wallet, Google had a Google Pay and a Google Wallet. And it looks like they basically shut down Google Pay to focus on the wallet.
Well, I think they built the functionality of Google Pay into Google Wallet, which is what I think they did. Instead of having two separate apps, they just have Google Wallet, which I think you can still. Again, I don't have an Android, so anybody listening with an Android can confirm. But Google Wallet gives you the ability to pay with your phone versus having Google Wallet and then having Apple Pay. I mean, Google Pay.
So I think based on what this little blurb says, you could pay two ways. You could pay either with Google Pay or Google
Mm-hmm.
Wallet. And
Mm-hmm.
so they said that they saw that the wallet had 5 times the
Mm-hmm.
usage of Google Pay. I wonder why they made them separate. That's interesting.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Like you said, the Apple Pay Later. We'll definitely put this link in the show notes for you guys so you can take a look at it to see if there's anything that you are surprised about. But yeah, I just thought this was a unique take on, kind of like your end of the year list, because it's usually like, yay, end of the year list. What about this? This is great. I use this. This is fun. But now it's like, this is all the stuff that did not work.
Yeah, well, not necessarily. Maybe it worked. There's a couple of entries that did well during the pandemic. Well, we ain't in no pandemic no more. So
Right.
maybe that was Drizzly, for example,
Mm-hmm.
when everybody was at home getting drunk.
Mm.
But now everybody's
Drinking the
back
COVID away.
outside getting drunk. So now we don't need Drizzly no more, right? So a lot of these things, or some of that kind of, the time has passed and ain't make no sense of dragging along because you were good for a moment. Now that moment has passed. So I can see a lot with some of these things.
Yeah. And I see Microsoft Surface Studio. So it was this was their all-in-one.
All-in-one computer.
Yeah. That got the boot.
All-in-one desktop computer.
Yep. I don't know what Verizon that is. Oh, I will have to say Cruise Robotax because it was
just recently, right?
That was very recently because I actually worked a little bit on Cruise at my last job with this. So this was an interesting move because they put a lot of money into this, all for them to say, we're good on it. Running over too many people, too many issues. So yeah. So I think that's probably the highlights. But again, we'll definitely put the link in the show notes for you can take a look to see all the tech that died in 2024. Well, that is going to wrap up for the culture. Let's head on over to the hookup for our tech tip of the week.
Yeah, so there's been a TikTok, speaking of TikTok, there have been some TikToks going around to where people are warning Apple users to make sure that AirDrop is turned off, because if not, somebody could use AirDrop to steal all of your Apple Wallet related information, debit cards, credit cards, banking information, this and that and the third. So this particular, I'm not going to put the URL out there, but it kind of all stemmed from this main TikTok user kind of warning people not to do it. And then a couple of websites picked it up, and now it's become a thing because anything that you read on the internet is true. Yeah. Right. So my hookup for the week is Apple Pay is safe. There is no way that somebody can use AirDrop to steal your Apple Wallet information. There's two totally different technologies, and Apple Pay is actually safer than your actual credit card in your wallet or your purse, because all of the data is encrypted and anonymized until it gets to the other side. So just want to do that quick little hookup. If you're perusing TikTok during this Christmas holiday, especially if you're buying things this Christmas holiday and you've seen these TikToks about saying, oh, make sure you do this and that and the third so you don't get your financial information stolen, don't believe the hype. As long as you've got Face ID, as long as you've got a strong password, can't nobody steal your information from Apple Wallet.
All right. Keep that in mind as you are out there shopping. Well, that is going to wrap up the last show of 2024. Brother Tech, where can the people find you, especially during this long break we're going to have before the new year?
You can find me at home, but I may pop online every once in a while. And if so, you can find me everywhere at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And you can find me at Tech Savvy Diva everywhere. Again, thank you for a wonderful year of allowing us to bring you the show. We enjoy it and we like bringing this content to you. So definitely we're going to finish out the year strong. And thank you for tuning in and supporting the show. We'll be out there on the internet street. So definitely if you have any questions or you want to bring up anything, you can definitely chat with us on social media or on our Discord channel. And you can find out all that information, how to connect with us, how to connect with the show, how to comment, how to share, how to go back and watch other shows, how to support our show. You can do all of that by going over to snobwestcast.com to get all of those details. And with that, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Solstice, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, and we will see everybody back in 2025.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.